What's going on, everyone, and welcome to the very first episode of the Sideline Report.
We're a student-run sports journalist podcast focused on fantasy football, the NFL, and the stories behind the numbers.
Every week, we're breaking down fantasy football using research, analytics, and real context, not just hot takes.
Whether you're setting lineups, checking waivers, or just trying to understand what's actually happening in the league, this is the place for you.
In today's episode, we're setting the foundation for the podcast and diving into the first of our fantasy football discussions. Before we get into fantasy football, we want to explain what the Sideline Report is and what it isn't.
This podcast is about analysts and storytelling.
We use stats, trends, and credible sources to explain why things are happening, not just what happened.
Fantasy football is a huge part of how fans experience the NFL now, and we treat it like what is a strategy game but built on real football.
So what's the foundation? So with that foundation set, let's get into the first fantasy football discussion, the weekly wrap-up. All right, how do you think the games went this past week?
It was an interesting bunch, you know?
Yeah, I really enjoyed that Rams-Lions game. Came down to a shootout with Matthew Stafford and Jared Goff. Really exciting. I was watching it. Puka, 181 receiving yards. Amazing game. Outstanding game. Amon-Ra St. Brown, another amazing game. 140 receiving yards. Just great playing in general.
Honestly, I've been
Just don't touch it, bro.
I've been quite surprised by how J.J. McCarthy has recovered. You know, he started off quite cold, but he's been heated up. You know, he beat the Stars, Cowboys.
Yeah, it's all good, bro. You're thinking about hockey right now.
Yeah.
Another big highlight: Kyle Pitts, crazy, dude.
What was it like? Holy cow! Why does this never work?
I don't know, bro, but crazy game, dude. 45 and a half fantasy points, one of the highest ever by a tight end ever. I was watching, especially with Drake London out. He did a really amazing job setting the scene for the Falcons and leading them to a win over a division rival, which is really interesting because I didn't see that coming with the strength of the Buccaneers. Even though they've been kind of falling off a bit lately, they still have done they're still a good team overall. Bucky Irving's back. I didn't see that one coming.
Yeah, and how Amon-Ra St. Brown played was insane. I went against him last week in my other league. He torched me. There's nothing I could do. He had 18 targets, 13 receiving, and 164 yards.
Yeah.
12.62 yards per carry and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, he's insane. 18
targets is crazy. Even with JMO, JMO got...
He still had 20 fantasy points.
Yeah, JMO still got 9 targets and 31 points, 29 fantasy points.
Yeah, that's crazy.
With a touchdown, and Amon-Ra still had 40. I don't understand how they can pass to these receivers so much. I mean,
Sam Laporta being on the IR, that's a big thing to it. And
Jared Goff also played.
Jared Goff, amazing game. If we're talking about quarterbacks, though, we got to talk about Trevor Lawrence, right? 5 passing touchdowns, 1 running touchdown. First time ever happened in the history of the NFL.
Yeah.
0 interceptions, just an overall amazing game from Trevor Lawrence, especially where the Jags are. They really needed that win, and he did a really good job at... And
if you look back, Trevor Lawrence, there's very, very few quarterbacks who have been able to have 6 touchdowns in a game. If you look back, even on your favorite teams, you have to go back far to find the last quarterback that did that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Trevor Lawrence he's starting to look like somewhat of a credible starting quarterback for fantasy. Honestly, he's been averaging 20, pretty lately. He had a bit of a rough game against Houston, but Houston's one of the best teams in the league, defensively wise, right? But he does go in to play Denver this week, which would be a really important win for them.
And staying on quarterbacks, Joe Burrow has been pretty disappointing as of late.
No, yeah, that's true.
At least the last game, only having like 8 points, having 2 interceptions of his past 2 games, 0 touchdowns.
Yeah,
yes,
that's the big one, honestly.
0 touchdowns too, versus the Baltimore Ravens, which you expect Joe Burrow to fry that team, but no, they clamped him.
Yeah, dude, and like going to tight end wise, like of course Kyle Pitts had the amazing game, but we can't forget about Trey McBride, bro. Like that guy's been on a heater. He is obviously the top tight end in fantasy.
If he was a wide receiver, he'd be wide receiver number 4, but
like catching 12 of 13 targets, 2 touchdowns, 134 yards, just like amazing game from him.
Yeah, he started off decently cold, I'd say. Like he was all right, but he's picked it up in this last end of the season.
Exactly. I really enjoyed watching that game, honestly. I think that the Cardinals, they're not a great team, but I think if they have lots of talent, honestly. They need to work on their quarterbacks a bit, like Brissett and Murray. I don't really know what they're going to do in the draft this year, but
Kyler Murray's been disappointing.
He has been. But with Marvin Harrison and Wilson, I think
Michael Wilson's been crazy.
He's been doing great. I think
he's better than Marvin Harrison Jr. Honestly.
No, honestly, but Marvin Harrison, I don't know. We saw so much potential from him in Ohio. I don't know. I think something will eventually switch for him. I don't think he's gonna stay the same that he has.
There's a decent amount of mouths to feed now with Michael Wilson, him, and Trey McBride.
True. Their main target is going to be a running back, of course. They don't really have one at the moment.
Yeah. Today, we went around our neighborhood asking people questions about fantasy sports. These are the answers we got. I have a few fantasy football-related questions, too. How did you first get into fantasy football?
My uncle.
When you're putting together your fantasy team, what's going through your head? Can you walk us through your mindset on draft day? Maybe a time where your plan worked perfectly or it totally spiraled out of control?
You got a lot of storage on this phone? I hope so, because it's going to be long. Okay, I plan on my whole routine in my little book. Got every guy on my draft board, 400 guys. Okay, basically every guy ever in the league, Okay, I put them in wide receiver categories, running back, quarterback, defense, kicker, everything. Break it down, 1, 2, 3, 4, bang, 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 all the way to 100 for each guy's category. Okay, as we're drafting, I cross them out the board. I also put a score of how reliable they are. So the fact, are they going to get injured? Are they not going to get injured? All that. And it's just barbecue chicken from there.
For sure. Everyone has a different philosophy when it comes to choosing between proven stars and risky sleepers. Can you tell us about a time when you took a big swing on a sleeper or played it safe, and that decision, and how did that decision shape your season?
Yeah, I drafted an idiot, Malik Neighbors, got hurt super quickly, and now he's making stupid IHOP ads saying, he's sorry about getting hurt. He ruined my fantasy year this year. So that was a big swing and a miss, that idiot.
And how did it turn out?
Okay, start of the season, I traded Quinshon Judkins, the rookie running back on the Browns, for Dylan Sampson, the other running back on the Browns. Because week 1, Quinshon had 10% of the snaps, and Dylan Sampson had 90%. And then week 2, by the time week 2 rolled around, it was 50-50, and now it's 80-20 for Quinshon Judkins, and Dylan Sampson has been useless. I dropped him. He's garbage. I wish I kept Quinshon because I drafted him in the 10th round. Could have been a keeper this year because I'm in a keeper league, Waste of a pick.
So, how important do you think social activities are for reducing stress?
Well, I think that's pretty important because when you're with friends, do you mean any type of sport like volleyball or badminton? Yeah, I would say, really honestly, it really does release your stress because you're gonna have fun with some friends, you're gonna talk, and you're gonna play together. So definitely, like, at least once a week, that's pretty fun. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. What's the most engaging community or group you've ever been a part of?
I would say just like working with the kids at the academy, because I work at an academy, and really that makes me like working with the community. And I've been helping out like kids learn French and English, so it's been really good for like community work. Yeah.
Thank you. Would you say luck, like what's more important? Would you say like in competitions is skill or luck more important in most like competitions?
I would say skill. If you practice a lot, you're gonna get to the point where you need to get to. But luck, of course, is just something that comes when you get lucky. But if you practice every day, then you're gonna get some results.
The waiver can be chaos. How do you usually approach it? And can you share a story about a player you grabbed off waivers who completely changed your season or totally flopped for you?
Yeah, I try to grab everyone that's available, you know. Who did I grab this year? I'm trying to think. Blake Corum was a decent pickup. There's been some good ones, you know, but it's pretty hectic, yeah.
Sure. Walk us through a Sunday morning in your fantasy life. What's your lineup process like, and has there ever been a week where one last-minute decision totally changed your outcome?
I usually set my lineup by like Wednesday, and then if I hear about any injuries, you know, swap it right out. But usually it's pretty chill, man. I watch my Bills games. I'm a Bills fan, you know, so I'm representing right now, you know. So yeah, word.
Okay. Every fantasy player had that gut punch moment when a key player gets hurt. I'm guessing
Malik Neighbors, that idiot.
My bad.
Idiot.
We're gonna move on to start, sit, or quit. All right. So yeah, we'll dive into that. All right. One of mine that I'm thinking about is Joe Burrow or Jackson Dart. Jackson Dart's having like a tough matchup against the Minnesota defense, and Joe Burrow is against an easier defense of Miami. And I'm really just not too sure about which one I'm going to pick. I think I'm going to go, I'm leaning towards Dart, but I want to know your opinion on that one.
Yeah, me personally, I'd go with Jackson Dart. Even against tough defenses, like he went against the Philadelphia Eagles like in week 6, the man still had like 23 fantasy points with no interceptions, a touchdown. Not amazing yardage, but even against these tough defenses, Jackson Dart finds a way to get it done.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Joe Burrow is just, I find him a little unreliable right now. Mm-hmm. Jackson Dart, he doesn't even have the best wide receivers. Like Malik Neighbors is injured. Of course, Wan'Dale Robinson.
Wan'Dale's been great, but he's a very low yard catcher. It's very interesting. Wan'Dale, he gets lots of targets and lots of receptions, but he doesn't get very many yards. I watched the Giants play, and he plays lots of like low slot running plays.
Yeah. But yeah, Jackson Dart makes the best out of his situation, I'd say, and he just is just good.
I mean, yeah, we can just look at his rushing touchdowns, bro. Like he's been off the past couple weeks, but he's still a top 3 quarterback in the league rushing touchdown wise. And I think he's got a really bright future with those rushing touchdown numbers.
And talking about rushing touchdowns, with Joe Burrow, he has none.
Yeah, none.
Last game, he had 2 attempts and had 5 yards.
Yeah, exactly. That's no rushing value, which can be very important for a quarterback. I mean, that's one of the reasons why Josh Allen is number 1 QB right now, I think.
But Joe Burrow, you can never be too sure because he does have 2 of the deadliest wide receivers on his team with T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. But even with those deadly wide receivers, he just did not play well. So it's kind of hard to trust Joe Burrow, especially with him being injury prone and going through all these. And at the press conference, he said, if I'm not having fun, what's the point of me playing? So I don't know if his head's really in the game right now.
Yeah, true. I really agree on that. Here, I'm just looking through our league right now. I see that there's do you think, would you rather have Jalen Warren or Kenneth Gainwell? Because I think that Kenneth is genuinely taking his spot on the Steelers. Kenneth just had a big, not a big game, but he had a game where he actually had more carries than Walker, or not Walker.
Yeah,
sorry.
Warren.
Yeah.
I could definitely see a bit of a situation like the Panthers where Kenneth Gainwell starts taking a bit of Jalen Warren's touches and rushes.
Yeah.
Because, Kenneth Gainwell's game was overall better. If you look at Jalen Warren, he had 12 rushing attempts with only 33 yards.
Yeah, exactly.
The last time he really had like a great game was in Week 7 versus Cincinnati with 16 attempts, 127 yards, but still 0 touchdowns.
Yeah, and you know what? Kenneth, he's not getting too many touchdowns, but what he is doing is that he is getting those receptions, and those receptions are really important, especially in PPR leagues, 6 receptions, another 6 receptions, 7 receptions, 7 receptions. Bit of a weak game against Buffalo, Week 13, but that's okay. But with those PPR points coming in, a running back that can catch the ball a lot, Bijan Robinson, Jahmyr Gibbs, Christian McCaffrey.
Even Ashton Jennings, he gets thrown the ball quite a bit.
Yeah. But he's on the Raiders though.
No offense.
Yeah.
Defense.
But I see, I have Kenneth on my team. I don't think I'm gonna start him personally, but he's been doing pretty well lately.
Honestly, it's risky to start either Jalen Warren or Kenneth Gainwell because they're sharing the backfield right now.
True. Another guy I want to talk about is Devontae Smith. He's just been ever since that AJ Brown did all that stuff on social media, he's just not been seeing the ball very much. He's been getting some targets, some good, decent target numbers, but the receptions just aren't coming in, the yards aren't coming in, and the touchdowns are definitely not coming in.
Honestly, I would not listen to AJ Brown saying, don't have me on fantasy. He's been pretty good. As of late, after what he said, I think the team is okay, we're going to try and get you more involved. Okay, after what he said, he has had 11 targets, 10 targets, 12 targets, 13. The last game, he only had 2 targets, but it did come with a touchdown.
I don't know. Yeah.
And a massive 36-point gain versus Chicago.
Exactly.
Where he was the number 1 wide receiver. 2 touchdowns, 132 yards. AJ Brown has honestly been better than Devontae Smith.
Yeah. And then looking at Drake London, what are we thinking? Do you think he's going to play this week?
This is a touchy subject for me. He's on my team.
Yeah, exactly. But I don't know. This guy, he's putting up amazing numbers.
He's been insane. When he's on the field, he's a top 5 wide receiver in my opinion. Absolutely. But it's
just so questionable.
I don't think he's going to play.
It says he's still day to day. They said they were really hopeful. They said really hopeful that he would play this week.
I'm questioning it. I'm really questioning it because at the end of the day, I don't know if they even want to risk him playing because they're not in the playoffs. And
True.
There's no reason. Even if he does play, I doubt he's going to get a ton of minutes. Even if he does play, he's absolutely a must-start option no matter what.
100%. Even though, Kyle Pitts had this amazing blow-up game, it's not going to change anything.
Kyle Pitts, bro.
It's not going to change anything with Drake London's targets,
share.
Targets, snaps, count, everything.
Yeah, no. He's been averaging, 17 points per game in PPR.
Yeah, that's great numbers.
Insane numbers. With an insane gain against with the Patriots of 9.
Yeah, 100%. Oh, another guy that went down last week, Devontae Adams. that's a big blow for the Rams.
Especially coming into the playoffs.
Yeah, with all the red zone targets, all the touchdowns coming his way, that's a big blow.
That's a big blow.
His hamstring, but he might come back. Who knows?
Now Puka Nacua is going to become an absolute beast, I think. I think if Devontae Adams doesn't play, Puka's going to be getting those touchdown throws and the long passes.
No, Puka might see 200 yards if Devontae Adams...
200 yards, 2 touchdowns.
I mean, he had 167 yards week 14 and then 181 yards last week. I can 100% see, even though Seattle has a really strong defense, Matthew Stafford has just been such an amazing player that, honestly...
Even through Matthew Stafford's age, he's still showing he can play.
Oh, dude, I mean, he's front runner for MVP. Like, this guy, is insane. And, bro, if we're look at Puka's snap share. This guy is not, doing very much on the field. He's with his minimal time, he's getting so many targets, so many receptions, so many yards. If they have to play him, especially with a hard game against Seattle, if he's playing 80% of the snaps, I 100% can see him getting 200 yards.
Absolutely.
And a couple touchdowns maybe even.
Now I have a question for you, though. What was your thoughts on the game with Phillip Rivers against Seattle? Do you think he can be a viable starting option?
I don't know. Personally, Phillip Rivers, he's interesting. I think that the Colts could get a win with him, but it's Jonathan Taylor needs to play better, honestly.
Absolutely.
They're telling this 44-year-old to come out here and play football for them.
The thing is, they need Jonathan Taylor.
They need
Phillip
him.
Rivers, even when he was younger, never a rushing QB. He never rushed. Always a thrower.
And now he's old, bro. His arm's not as good. He's not going to be able to deep ball the ball as well. Jonathan Taylor needs to step up, and he's just not been that great since week 10. I mean, week 10, he had his massive game with almost 300 yards in total. But
after that, he just
ever since that, he hasn't reached 90 yards in a game.
I still think he, obviously, the man still must start every game because...
of course.
Because the ceiling is just so high with him.
Oh, yeah.
And the floor, it's okay, he's going to give you at least 11 a game, you know it.
Yeah.
But
the Colts need Jonathan Taylor to step up because they've just been seeing their playoff chances just, descend so fast in the past while. I
do like their matchups, though, against San Francisco 49ers and the Jaguars. But not great. Good for, number one, they're not a great running defense. Mm-hmm. And number two, they're just not a great defense in general, both of them. So I think Phillip Rivers could have a solid game. I don't see him having over 15 points.
I don't know. People need to, realistically, Phillip Rivers has been brought into this team to fill in as a quarterback, but nobody sees anything out of him. They don't think.
No.
So the other Colts players need to step up, and their defense needs to step up.
Yeah, and he had an interception. He did have a touchdown, but one interception. Only threw for 120 yards.
Yeah.
But he's only throwing. He attempted to run once, and he got -5 yards.
Yeah, but I don't know. Just
and honestly, I saw him try to run. It was pretty sad. It was he can't run.
Yeah, no, but bro, the main thing just Jonathan Taylor, dude. 3.5 yards per rush last game, 25 attempts, 87 yards. That just all those numbers just need to be better. Yeah.
We were lucky enough to get a private interview with a member of Football Absurdity, Jeff Krisko, and here's what he had to say. Jeff is known for running the podcast and some of the live streams, and is known for some of his site writing for Football Absurdity. Jeff, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate you guys thinking of me.
Yeah.
We're really excited to hear your thoughts today, from the highs and lows of fantasy football to the stories that make the sport to so endlessly entertaining,
Jeff, can you tell us a little bit about your journey into fantasy football and analysis and how Football Absurdity came to life?
Sure. So it kind of traces all the way back to, I went to college I had a history degree, and I wrote a lot. It involves a lot of writing when you do that. Then I worked at a museum for a while, also a lot more writing. And then that career path ended, and I realized that I really enjoyed writing. And so I started doing some sports blogging, just general sports blogging. And one day I thought, I'm pretty good at fantasy football. At that time, I was also really into fantasy baseball. I started to work for a couple sites. They don't really exist anymore. So that kind of developed for a while, like just writing an article here, an article there, guested on a couple podcasts. I was far more nervous then than I am for this one. I have a couple podcasts under my belt at this point. And then one of my friends so back before there was Twitter and all that stuff, there was website forums. So you'd post about various topics, and one of my friends from one of the fantasy football websites said, "Hey, I'm starting a website that kind of is not going to be as dry. It's going to be fantasy football stuff, but it's not going to be as dry." And that's kind of what we try to do, is have a little bit more fun with it. And that was 2017, and that was my buddy Waleed. He, myself, and Evan, who I do the live streams with, we were the first three. That's when Football Absurdity started, and then kind of grew from there. We got a few more folks: Mike Valverde, Walker Kelly, who I do the podcast with. We got Tony Steele, and he does a lot of the live stream stuff and helps moderate our Discord. And it just kind of grew a little bit from there. Now we have a nice little community. It's a lot of fun. So that's kind of where I started. There was a couple stop-offs along the way in my fantasy baseball side that I won't bore you guys with, but that's how I got from writing to Football Absurdity.
Nice, very cool. So, second question, what was the moment you realized you wanted to focus on the absurdity or humor side of football rather than just stats or game recaps?
So a lot of that does have to do with, if you know the fantasy football arena, Matthew Berry. And a lot of folks came in reading Matthew Berry's. His big columns are the love-hate. I think it's 100 facts columns. His big columns every week in his annual columns that he does as well. He injected a lot of humor, a lot of just like, hey, this is a game. And that's kind of our focus. It's like, we take this seriously, but it's a game. And you compare that with other folks who focus more on the numbers. I don't want to denigrate them, so I won't name them, but there's a lot of folks that focus on the numbers. And I realized that you're getting a lot of the same information, but the Matthew Berry stuff was a lot more palatable. It was easier to read. It was easier to digest, easier to remember than like a pile of spreadsheets. So that was kind of why we decided to go in that direction. Evan, one of the founders, was on Fantasy Sports Radio one time because he won Article of the Year. And he said that he got really tired of opening a fantasy football article and it just being a series of graphs, a series of, spreadsheets. And so that's kind of, we try to like focus in on that sort of thing of it. So it also rolls into like one of our focuses, which is what we call the Jenkins in accounting test, which is basically, you guys are in high school, so you don't have a lot of office experience, but whenever you have an office league, there's one guy that's just like, he just reads he reads everything on ESPN, everything on the fantasy footballers. He just devours everything, and he wants it to be accessible, wants it to be easy to be read. And that's the person that we're going for, is that kind of person. So that's kind of how we ended up where we ended up, was we wanted to focus on that being our consumer, rather than the guy who's really interested in advanced statistics because he's looking to do a daily fantasy league, daily fantasy betting, stuff like that. That's not really our wheelhouse. It's more redraft, just the average guy in a league with his buddies or his office mates.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And I think it's really important that like people, like just regular people trying to have fun, like can have help from people like you.
Mhm.
Looking at the current NFL season, what are some of the storylines that fans might be overlooking but really fascinating to you?
One that's right now that has me very interested is the rise of the Jacksonville Jaguars over the last month or so. They're doing very well before they traded for Jacoby Myers from the Raiders, and before what is kind of an underreported thing is they started putting the plays on Trevor Lawrence's wrist, so he has the plays there. And over the last month or so, they've really kind of moved from, I think, kind of like a second tier, maybe like a high third tier, into like the second tier of competitors in the AFC. I also think that the Patriots aren't really under the radar, but I think that that's a storyline that's very interesting. And then I think in the NFC, the Eagles offense kind of sputtering, not really what we expected them to see. That one's a little bit more high profile, but those are like one AFC, one NFC thing that's really interesting me is that because a lot of the years played out like we thought, but those are two big ones that were surprising, as well as the Seahawks defense becoming a shutdown defense. I'm a 49ers fan. We played them in week 1. I wasn't impressed by their defense, but they've grown as the season's gone on. So those are probably the big three things that are a little bit under the radar that are very interesting to me, at least.
Yeah. So, next question. Fantasy football players always have strong opinions. What's your advice for someone who wants to stay competitive while still enjoying the absurdity and the fun of it all?
The number one thing that I had to learn was that you can do everything right and still lose. You can have the right analysis, you can have the right plays, you can check all the boxes, you can do everything right, you can do hundreds of hours of research, you'll still lose sometimes. Things don't always work out your way. And that mindset is what kind of you have to have if you're going to do what I do, because giving out a ton of advice to everybody all the time. Sometimes things are going to be wrong. And if you wrap up so much of your emotion or your mental health or your well-being in how these guys on Sunday perform, whether they get sidelined by usage, injury, matchup, something like that, these things happen. And you just kind of have to understand that you can do everything right and still come out wrong. So we take it extremely seriously, but sometimes you just have to be able to laugh when things don't go your way. And the way that I think of it is all my prep work stops at 10 a.m. Pacific. 10 a.m. Pacific is when it's officially out of my hands on Sunday morning, because that's when the games start. And from there on out, I can't really get upset if things don't go my way, because there's 22 guys on the field across 16 stadiums out there. There's a lot of stuff going on, and some things don't go your way. And that's kind of my number one advice is you can do everything right and still lose. You can also do things wrong and still win, which is incredibly funny as well. I had my podcast co-host Walker Kelly, their home league. I made all the wrong starts. I did everything wrong last week. I still won, and I ended up in the playoffs. Sometimes that happens too. So it's just so much is out of your hands that you kind of, after a while, you can't get upset by it because it's just out in the universe. It doesn't reflect on your preparation, your skill, or anything like that. It's just blind luck. It's like rolling the dice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you. Are there any underrated players that you think deserve more attention this year or for the next year?
Ooh, underrated players. I really like the rookie out of Iowa State for the Texans, Jaden Higgins. He's a wide receiver. Over the last month or so, they've started to put him into the offense more, and he's produced with a high floor. So for like PPR leagues where you get points for receptions, I think that he's going to grow into this offense, and I think he has a chance to really break out next year. I'm also liking what Devin Neal is doing down in New Orleans. That's another rookie. He's a running back. Their star running back, Alvin Kamara, has been hurt, and he's come in and he's performed well. I think those are a couple of guys that should take a step forward next year, like names to remember. I like what Cam Ward is doing in Tennessee. However, the offensive line, the weapons around him are not great. So if the Titans take a concerted look in the offseason at making the offensive line better, getting him some better pass catchers, I think he could take a huge leap in his sophomore year, because he's making all the throws, just nobody's catching them. Is the problem, is because his weapons aren't great.
Can you walk us through your creative process from noticing a quirky story or trend to turning it into content for your audience?
Yeah. So one of the things that you'll notice is a lot of the fantasy sports and even regular sports writers, they spend a lot of time on social media, whether it be Twitter or Blue Sky, which is where I spend most of my time. And you'll start to notice like little in jokes, little trends, little things like that. And for like my audience, the easiest one is I quote tweet something obviously bad and I say, is that good? That's the easiest one. That's low hanging fruit, whatever. But the ones that really kind of get traction is like, how does this football item like relate to a personal life, whether that be pop culture or what have you? I don't know. That's a hard question to ask to answer, because it's just sort of like, I just do. It's just like whatever my gut reaction is like, just pointing out how absurd it is. For example, Phillip Rivers. Phillip Rivers is coming back, right? He's 44 years old. His oldest daughter is closer in age to the quarterback that he's going to be playing with, Riley Leonard, than Phillip Rivers is to Riley Leonard. And he's literally a grandfather. So, making jokes about, our last couple of presidents down here in the U.S. have been kind of old. So, it's the Joe Biden quarterback, or one that I saw that I wish I had thought of was, if you've ever seen the movie Billy Madison, where Adam Sandler as a grown man goes back to elementary school. It's just relating it to pop culture things in people's lives, taking it out of just like, hey, this is football. Let's keep it just in football, to be more related to like pop culture, movies, TV shows, politics a little bit, without being too political about it. But that's kind of how I do it. But I can't think of a specific process,
Yeah. How does engaging with your audience shape the way you create content, if it does at all?
Sometimes with the articles, we put in winks and nods to stuff that we talk about in our Discord about like questions that people have, or like constant we're getting a lot of the same player in start sit, so I kind of take a little bit of a closer look at them in my reviews for the next week. So we do the weekly start sit show, and I kind of like keep an eye out for who people are really asking about in that starter sit show. And then throughout the day, throughout the games, I pay a little bit closer attention to them. And then I do a weekly review of like 3 big questions from the week. And I kind of try to answer those questions in a way that helps me better understand why people were asking the questions they were asking. Like we got a lot of questions this last week about Adonai Mitchell on the Jets. His starting quarterback was hurt, so that didn't work out for how people thought it was going to go. But you kind of had to look at like, is he going to be valuable when his quarterback comes back? Because he had a huge game. And my takeaway is no. But I what led me there was getting a lot of questions in the Discord about Adonai Mitchell, getting a lot of questions on the Sunday live stream about him. So it is kind of a symbiotic relationship, because I sit down I have the whole breadth of the National Football League to write about, to talk about. And, I want to write stuff that the people who follow me for my writing or for my insight, what they want to read. So basically they tell me what they want to hear about. And so I react accordingly. So that kind of push and pull is very helpful, honestly, because it helps focus my work. A lot of folks just kind of focus on random things that interest them that don't necessarily interest other people because they are writing for themselves, whereas I'm trying to help the folks that build our community, that make up our community.
Who are some of your favorite personalities in football right now? Players, coaches, or analysts, and why?
Okay. Favorite player is probably Josh Allen. He is an absolute joy to watch, and he also plays football like he's the biggest kid in the yard. Like, he's very good, but he also becomes a freight train at times. I really like him. A player that I've really liked for his skills, I really wanted the 49ers to draft him, was Derwin James down in LA with the Chargers. He's extremely versatile, and that's a fun thing that I like to watch on defense, is a guy who can do a little bit of everything. As for coaches, I'm a big fan of just kind of like how cool, calm, and collected Mike Tomlin is at all times. There's just nothing frazzles the guy. He's just cool at all times. And to be like that in the biggest situations is very admirable. On the opposite side of that, I'm a 49ers fan. I love Robert Saleh's Fire, who's the defensive coordinator for the 49ers. He was the Jets head coach. And I really enjoy watching how Sean McVay has kind of worked around his personnel in changing up his offense. So those are kind of like different reasons why I like the coaches. As for personalities, it's not a lot of the like main personalities you think of. I'm a big fan of the Heed the Call podcast, which is from two guys who used to work at NFL Media, Dan Hansis and Mark Sessler. They kind of look at football the same way we look at fantasy football. A little bit of weirder, a little bit, they say it with a dash of mirth is how they put it. I enjoy Mina Kimes. She's very good at what she does. She's I call her a certified ball knower. And then, of course, the guys on the website. For fantasy football, I really love what the folks over at Optimus Fantasy Football are doing. That's a newer site they just started up, but those are my friends, and they're good folks. So those are kind of the people in the landscape that I enjoy the most.
If you could write one absurd football headline that actually happened, what would it be?
Like, can I will it into existence or cover a specific event? Okay, so for a specific event, I think the butt fumble was probably the single funniest thing that's ever happened in the NFL. So I think that we didn't have the website then, but I still remember where I was when that happened. That was Mark Sanchez just running into the back of his offensive lineman and fumbling the football, for folks who don't know. And as for event, I don't know if it would be willing an event into existence, but I would love to go to the annual coaches meeting and be able to just, treat it with a little bit more levity than a lot of folks do. Ask them, if you could have a slumber party, or if you could have a slumber party with like one position group, what would it be? Like, would it be the offensive lineman, and why? Sort of dumb stuff like that. I think that would be the most fun. But a lot of what we do is like reacting to it, because I think the sport, because it's so chaotic, is inherently absurd. So it's like, it's hard to like try to will it into existence, because this stuff happens. Jalen Hurts had 2 fumbles on a play for the first time ever, or 2 turnovers on a play for the first time ever on Monday. You get new stuff that happens all the time. So trying to think of something would be mighty difficult, because I'm sure it's already happened if I try to will something into existence.
Yeah. how do you keep the joy and humor in football alive for yourself, even during tough seasons or high pressure analysis?
I'm guessing you're asking, how do I keep it light and fun?
Yeah,
Yeah,
basically.
even though even through difficult times, with high pressure.
So it's basically you just have to keep your head down. You just have to keep at it. You like I said earlier about keeping it fun for the average player, you have to understand that you have to treat it like a job, and my job is to make it fun and to provide actionable advice. So I just keep my head down, keep grinding. It's something that I thoroughly enjoy doing, so it makes it a lot easier, but it does get to be a grind. Being wrong is just part of it. It's just more we're 3 months into this and we still have a month to go, so it's just kind of a lot of work. I do this outside of my normal job. It's easily 40 hours a week, so it's just thoroughly enjoying what I do makes it a lot easier to handle the stresses and the difficult aspects of the work.
Yeah, right. Just one last question for us. It's a short one. Can you name some players who you think are really overrated in the fantasy football world, or who you think are not going to perform very well in future years?
In future years? Oh man, that's a tough question because so much changes. But in terms of overrated players, man, that's a short question, but a tough question because I haven't thought of it for future years yet. So I'm just trying to run down lists of players. I hate to say it, but I think that Jalen Hurts is showing that if the offense isn't performing completely up to snuff, he's going to struggle for fantasy football. I thought that Patrick Mahomes hit the age cliff, but it's looking more and more like it's the guys around him. So you could see how the Chiefs retool. Not to say that Patrick Mahomes will be bad, but his rushing will probably go away, which has buoyed his floor. Trying to think of running backs. I mean, to pat myself on the back, I nailed Saquon Barkley this year. I think that Josh Jacobs is probably about to hit a wall for next year because he's been handling a high touch volume. Quentin Johnston is a lower skill guy than those other guys, but he is very overrated. He just basically, if he gets wide open, he can catch the football, but he rarely gets wide open. For tight ends, I think they actually did, as a community, we've done a pretty good job of evaluating tight ends. Yeah, that's a tough question. I haven't thought about 2026 and beyond yet. If you asked me that question in July, I'm sure I would have a laundry list of players. But so that actually, I can answer that question in a different way. So much of fantasy football is you don't want to be out on players. You want to be out on players where you can get them. And without having that second half of the data set where I can get them, that's what's causing me such trouble here. Because, I'll sit here and I'll say Quentin Johnston is overrated, but I'll take Quentin Johnston in the 11th round because what if I'm wrong? But if Quentin Johnston's getting boosted up to the 6th round, I'm not going to be taking him there. So I think a lot of that is you need both halves of the equation for that to be able to answer that question. And in December, I don't have 2026's information to move forward. So tough question. I like the question. I just wasn't ready for it.
Yeah. All good. All right. That's it. We're going to wrap it up here. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show. Your insights, humor, and stories remind us that football is much about the fun and the unexpected moments as it is about stats and scores.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and for everyone listening, please go take a look at Football Absurdity page and go check out their socials. Jeff, any parting advice for our listeners or aspiring analysts?
Yeah, can I ask you guys a question?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask you guys. You guys are Canadian, right? I saw it was British Columbia in the email.
Yeah.
I was just curious what led you guys down the football path, because you guys have Canadian CFL up there. What led you guys down being interested in the NFL and fantasy football? I was just curious on that end.
I think personally the CFL isn't that great. That's kind of like a short answer to that.
That's fair. That's fair.
But I don't know. It's just we got into fantasy as a big group of friends a couple years ago, and this year we've been having some of the most fun that we've ever had. So we decided to make our new media project about it.
Yeah, honestly,
that's awesome.
I love sports, and I actually wasn't very much into football. I've only started recently getting into it like the past 2 years, but now like that I watch it, I love it. I love it quite a lot, and I like doing the analysts, and it's something fun to do, and I don't know, it's just something fun to do with friends and stuff.
It's just got such an amazing community, and I don't know, there's such like little aspects to the game which are really fun to follow.
Yeah, keep it up. I started before I started writing, my fantasy football league was with high school friends, and I'm still, I think half of them are still in the league. So it's something that, as you guys grow and get older, you can keep your friend group together. So I really appreciate you guys having me on. Like you already plugged the site. You can check me out on Blue Sky, Jeff Krisko, KRISKO.bsky.social. That's where I post. And yeah, thanks guys. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
I have one more star sit. Would you rather start or sit Quinshon Judkins or Ashton Genty right now?
Personally, Judkins, he had a rough game. Last couple weeks, it's been a bit rough. But he's playing Buffalo this week, and Buffalo's been quite a weak rushing defense, honestly. We think of Buffalo as being a great defense, but to the running backs, he's not been great. And especially with Shedeur Sanders' 3 interceptions last week, I think the Browns are going to go more into the rushing game this week. And I don't know. I just think Quinshon Judkins is just going to be... I think he's a must-start, honestly.
Yeah. The Raiders are going against Houston Texans.
Yeah, and I don't know. It's just, it's a really tough matchup for Genty. The Raiders just been struggling all year, really. I don't know, dude. It's a bit hard to know.
Yeah,
but
the Texans have an amazing defense, and defensive line for Ashton Genty, it's not good. They let the guys through, and Ashton just can't find a straight line to run.
He's not, and he only had 4, or no, sorry, not 4. He only had 9 rushing attempts last week against the Eagles, and of course the Eagles are a great defense. Look at these numbers. Look at his yard per carries. Like week 9, 3.5. Week 10, 3. Week 11, 1. Week 12, 3. Week 13, 2. Yeah. Week 14, 3.
The one upside I'd say Ashton Genty has over Quinshon Judkins is Quinshon Judkins doesn't get past the ball very much.
The volume receiving wise is definitely on Ashton Genty's side.
Because the past since week 9, 5 targets, 8 targets, 8, 4, and 6.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right.
Now the yardage on these targets not great either though.
True, but in a PPR league, realistically, the receiving yards aren't too big of a deal.
Yeah, I think Quinshon Judkins you should still start him in your leagues.
Yeah. All right. Boom or doom? What hot takes do you have this week? I'm thinking, my hot take is that I think that Colby Parkinson for the Rams is going to have a great game. He had a great game last week. 24 points, 7 targets, 5 receptions, 75 yards, 2 touchdowns. Just a great game, 10 yards per catch. And especially if Devontae Adams is out, I think that Parkinson is going to get at least another touchdown this week. And his targets are going to go up because he made some great plays the week before. And yeah, that's my sleeper of the week. I really think that, and his snap share has been going up more. Yeah, I just think that he's gonna be a questionable start in fantasy, but I think he's got a pretty high upside.
I say my hot take is Omarion Hampton's gonna have over a 30-point game against Dallas.
Okay, yeah.
I know he's had the past coming back from injury. You know, he's had a pretty slow comeback with 13 attempts, 56 yards, and then the next game, 15 attempts, 61 yards. The first game against Philly, he only had like 13 points or so. And against Kansas Chiefs, which was very bad, only like 6.
Yeah.
But he's going against a very rough Dallas defense that has been really great for runners. One of the worst running defenses in the league right now. And if you look back at Omarion Hampton's points before the injury, he was cooking up. 19 from week 3, 19, 70 yards, and then right after versus the Giants, which is also terrible running defense, he only had 12 attempts, but he had 128 yards with 10.6 yards per carry and a touchdown, and he got 5 targets.
Yeah.
I think he's going to, because they're warming him up, obviously, from the injury. He's been gone for a very long time, but now he's starting to warm up, starting to get back into the season of the game, and I believe he's going to pop off against Dallas.
Yeah. You know, another guy that I want to talk about is Justin Jefferson, man. It's just so hard to know. This guy's such a good receiver, and he's one of the best in the league, but just has been struggling lately. You know, it's not like...
It's been rough, but I do like the last game with 8 targets. He got the target share.
Bro, but he dropped some. Like, did you see, like, the one in the end zone? Like, yeah, right through his hands.
He was dropping targets, and it wasn't... This time it wasn't JJ's fault. He played an amazing game.
Yeah, definitely. Like, and then... I don't know, it's just...
All Justin. It's rough to see this high caliber of a wide receiver play like that.
It's just struggling, yeah, man. Like, the last 3 games, he's had under 5 fantasy points, and that's just not what you want to see from such an amazing player. Like,
he does have a good matchup next week against the Giants.
So would you start him? I think you have to. Right?
You have to start him just with the massive upside that he brings. Because, listen, the snap percentage was 96. The targets, he got 8. If J.J. McCarthy keeps on throwing him the ball, the talent that he is,
it's gonna kick in. Like, there's no way it doesn't. You can't just not start him because the amount of upside that he brings, he could have like a 40-point game anytime. Exactly. Yeah, so yeah, man, like with the trade with trading being done, man, like I don't know, there's not much you can do with Justin Jefferson, but I feel like just with his name, like you kind of gotta use him, dude. Like,
especially with how J.J. McCarthy's been playing, he's stepped up.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't call him 9 just yet, but stepped up absolutely. So I do see a future where J.J. McCarthy and Justin Jefferson are definitely not linked right now. They're not thinking on the same page, but I do think eventually the connection will start to happen and Justin Jefferson could start having good games again.
Yeah. All right. You want to talk about Patrick Mahomes and the ACL tear? It's a big blow to the Chiefs. You know, I know their season was already over, but with them struggling and everything, I feel like it would have been nice to end off with, like, their starting quarterback, of course, right? You never want to see somebody go down like that.
Obviously. But I still think Patrick Mahomes has a bright future ahead of him. If you think back to Tom Brady, in the 9th season, just like Patrick Mahomes' season in his 9th season, Tom Brady also had a massive injury in his 9th season.
Exactly. And they missed the playoffs.
And they missed the playoffs because of it. But then he came back stronger than ever. So I still think Patrick Mahomes is going to come back. The Kansas Chiefs, Travis Kelce, honestly, I think he just can't really. He's
getting old. He's still a great.
He's still a great tight end.
One of the best tight ends of all time, but
he's getting old. He can't do the same things.
He's not as reliable as he used to be. I highly doubt that the Chiefs' reign of terror is over. I think,
especially with how Rashee Rice played when he came back, he was amazing.
Yeah, I think he's doing. I don't think it's over for the Chiefs. This is a little blip here, but I think they're going to come back. They're going to have a draft pick. They're going to get a running back, maybe a new tight end. Who knows? And I think they're gonna bounce back really well.
The Chiefs are still eyeing for a Week 1 return for Patrick Mahomes, so he will absolutely be back next year, and he could start immediately.
Oh yeah, definitely. So another one I want to talk about, Micah Parsons, just terrible ACL injury. Green Bay's defense going to be really impacted by that. He had 13 sacks this year, I think. But yeah, missing Micah.
Yeah, one of the best
defenders in the league, man. It's it's a tough blow, especially after they traded for him. And Green Bay was looking strong, honestly, but missing one of their star players, missing one of the best players in the world.
One of the best defensive ends in the whole entire league. In my opinion, I think this is also taken by everyone. Everyone else's opinion, most likely, is defensive ends one of the most important positions in the whole entire game.
Yeah, of course.
So obviously, he's going to be missed. I mean, the Green Bay Packers, they were never true contenders in the first place, but definitely a blow.
Yeah, and I mean, Jordan Love is having an amazing season this year. And he's in the MVP race. Of course he's not gonna win it, but he's there. His name's there. I've seen many posts about it.
Do you think Drake May could take it home?
I don't know. He's young. His passing numbers are really good, but he's never had a big blowout game. But that doesn't really matter. And their record is, it's showing that they're great. Although they have played some weaker teams. But yeah, I don't know. They've been doing good. All right. We're coming to the end of the time that we have here. Just want to talk about Josh Allen, Hailey Steinfeld, having a baby. Congrats to them.
Congrats.
Amazing. Yeah. So that's going to be it for our first episode of the Sideline Report.
Make sure to follow us on our platforms and stay tuned for future episodes. Go look at our WordPress. We do daily posts on current events. And thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time.